What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Sunday, August 4th. Saturday was a little bit up and down, guys. We got things started off with the Brewers minus 130. Savali was terrible out there. It ended up being a 6-4 win for the Nationals. We also had Boston minus 106. They had the bases loaded there in the top of the 8th in their, bid to make a comeback in that game. Nothing cooking there. They ended up losing that game 7-4, so pretty disappointing stuff there. We did follow things up with a solid win on Minnesota minus 1.5 at plus 130, so a nice win there. They won 6-2 against the White Sox, doing work against that terrible White Sox bullpen. We also hit the over there in that Baltimore-Cleveland game, over 9. They took their time getting there, but we ended up with a comfortable win there in the end. We had the under in that San Francisco Giants-Cincinnati Reds game, and man, guys, that felt like a pretty bad beat. It ended up being a 6-4 win there for Cincinnati. San Francisco scored 4 runs against the, I guess, supposed to be elite Reds bullpen in the 7th, 8th, and 9th to eventually push that game to the over. So pretty disappointing stuff there. We also have Seattle minus 118. That game is not finished yet. Trying to get these videos out early to you guys, especially with an early slate there on Sunday. Let's see if we can find a bounce back here on a full Sunday slate. Before we jump into the games, guys, hit that like button. It only takes 1 second and really helps the channel. If you like these videos, go ahead and subscribe. It's free and can notify you about new videos or anytime we go live. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. We are running a big sale right now on full seasons of NFL premium content, so get in there and don't miss out on maximum value. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We are committed to responding to every single comment every day, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the San Francisco Giants going on the road to take on the Cincinnati Reds. The Giants come into this game fresh off of that tough 6-4 loss there in game 2 of this series at Cincinnati. They're 55-57 on the year, handing the ball to Robbie Ray in this game, who's 1-1 in the season with a 4.82 ERA. His last start, guys, was back on the 30th against Oakland. Not a great time for him. 4 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, and 3 home runs allowed. So looking a little bit questionable there after getting off to a great start to his season back on July 24th with a good start at the Dodgers. But yeah, we'll see what we get from Robbie Ray in this one. Not necessarily expecting miracles from him out there. Also not expecting miracles from this Giants bullpen, guys. They're like 24th or something like that in the majors with a 4.35 bullpen ERA. So not exactly the kind of bullpen that you can trust. And yeah, I mean, the offense, guys, they just scored 4 runs, most of those late in that game against the Reds to ruin our underplay. Yeah, just not an offense that I'm super sold on, guys. I mean, they've got some pieces out there, don't get me wrong, but 14th in the majors in runs scored, 17th in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, this is just a strictly middle-of-the-road offensive team, so we'll see what they can get done out there in this game, going up against the Reds, who come into this one 53-57 on the year, fresh off of that win. They're handing the ball in this one to Carson Spears, who's 4-2 this season with a 3.46 ERA. His last start was against the Cubs back on the 29th, guys. He looked lights out in that one. 5 innings, only giving up a single hit and no runs while striking out 4 and walking 2. That's fresh off of a decent start against Miami where he did strike out 9, but he also gave up 3 earned runs over 5 innings. So, not dominant stuff there against a team like the Miami Marlins. But overall, I think we feel decent about Spears out there on the mound in this game. We also want to feel good about that Cincinnati Reds bullpen, although they really kind of screwed us over yesterday. They're 4th in the majors right now in bullpen ERA. So, good indications that they should have a decent outing. But yeah, need a little bit of a bounce back and kind of need to regain my trust after yesterday. The Reds offense has not been great this season, guys. They're coming off a game where they scored 6 runs, which is nice, but they've scored 6, 0, 4, 6, and 7 runs respectively over their last several games. Maybe a slight uptick. Is this an average offense? I kind of think they're well below average, guys. 28th in the majors in batting average, 25th in the majors getting a base at a 302 clip. Like, just not an offensive team that I can trust to put up a lot of runs. So we'll see what they can do in this game. Looking at the numbers, we've got the Giants at minus 120, the Reds at plus 112. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. The Giants are still slightly below 500 on the road. We see the Reds are 27-30 at home, so that's not a great home mark. We see mixed trends towards the over-under for these two teams. I mean, the Giants are an over team on the road, and the Reds are an under team at home, so not too interested in the over-under in this game, guys. If anything, I'm leaning towards the Reds plus 112, getting to play at home here and with Spears on the mound, but is this a game that I have enough confidence in to put in the pinned comment? I don't exactly think so. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Arizona Diamondbacks going on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Diamondbacks come into this game fresh off of a 4-2 loss there in game 2 of this series. They're handing the ball to Ryan Nelson in this one, who's 8-6 this year with a 4.53 ERA. He's coming off of a great start against the Nationals, 7 innings, 2 hits, 9 strikeouts, and no runs allowed in a 17-0 win there for the Diamondbacks. Arizona is actually 5-0 over his last 5 starts. A couple of them weren't maybe the greatest starts. I mean, giving up 9 hits and 4 earned runs over 6 innings to the Kansas City Royals doesn't exactly qualify to me as a fantastic start, but other than that, he's looked looked pretty reasonable over his last 5. Not exactly facing a murderer's row there, but there's some decent teams in there, so we're going to give him some credit here. Not a guy that's gone up against the Pirates yet this season. No major surprise there. In terms of their bullpen, we've got big questions still about this Arizona bullpen. However, they are headed in the right direction, but yeah, if you're improving and you're still sporting a 4.31 bullpen ERA, not exactly a bullpen I'm going to be jazzed up about. The offense for this team is amazing, no doubt about it, guys. They're coming off of a bad game where they only scored 2 runs, but over the course of the season, they're still second in the majors in runs scored and 4th in the majors in batting average. They're a top 6 slugging percentage team. They've scored 2, 9, 5, 17, and 9 runs respectively over their last few games. So I'm expecting something of a bounce back from this offense, but could be tough going up against the Pirates and Paul Skeens. The Pirates come into this game winners of 4 out of their last 6. They're 56 and 54 on the year, 6 games back of the Milwaukee Brewers. They're hitting the ball to Skeens in this game, like I was saying, guys. 6-1 on the season with a 1.90 ERA for this young phenom. His last start was at Houston, 6 innings, 5 hits, only a single earned run. He did give up 2 total runs. One of them was unearned. Yeah, he walked 3, so maybe not the perfect control, maybe not his best stuff in that game. Generally speaking, the dude's been absolutely lights out this season. Absolutely no doubt about that. So expecting great things from Paul Skeens in this game, no doubt about that. What do we expect out of this Pirates bullpen? Well, a 4.31 bullpen ERA does not exactly fill me with lots of optimism, so that's a bit concerning for whenever Skeens eventually comes out of this game. We're also a little bit worried about this Pirates offense. They've been a bit better recently. We'll give them some credit, but yeah, Brian Reynolds has to go off for this team to have a good day at the plate, and he does that a lot, so give him credit, maybe not giving the team too much credit. They're 28th in the majors in slugging percentage and 24th in the majors in runs scored. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Diamondbacks at plus 138, the Pirates at minus 155. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. Arizona is above 500 road team. The Pirates are actually 1 game below 500 at home, so that's a little bit concerning. Arizona at plus 138, guys. That is a big number for a team that's a really good hitting team. Obviously, going up against Skeens is really, really tough. The Pirates at minus 155 seem pretty overpriced to me. I mean, are we going to see Skeens go 7 or 8 innings in this game? Like, I think that's going to need to happen, and he's going to have to be lights out against a very good hitting team for the Pirates to win this game. So, generally speaking, if you're forcing me to bet this game, I'll take the Diamondbacks plus 138, I suppose. In terms of the over-under, I guess since I'm leaning towards the Diamondbacks, I should be leaning slightly towards the over, but generally speaking, this is probably a stay-away spot for me. I just don't 100% trust Skeens in this exact spot. You guys might call me crazy. I mean, if the price was better, if it was the Pirates like minus 120 or something like that, I would definitely be all over it, but minus 155, just a little expensive for me. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Miami Marlins going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. The Marlins come to this game fresh off of a crazy 4-3 win there at Atlanta in Game 3 of that series. Headed into Game 4 here, they're going to be handing the ball to Edward Cabrera, who's 1-3 this season with a 6.65 ERA. His last start was a pretty good one, guys, against the Tampa Bay Rays, and honestly, he's looked decent over his last 3 outings. I mean, they haven't been the longest outings, but they've been against some pretty tough competition. The Marlins are 3-2 over his last 5 starts, so that's something. I mean, for a team that's had the struggles that the Marlins have had this season, that's honestly kind of impressive. Generally speaking, I guess we feel okay about Edward Cabrera. How do we feel about the Marlins bullpen? I mean, they've actually been better than you would have thought this season for sure. A borderline top 10 bullpen with a 3.77 ERA coming out of the pen. Not a disaster at all. In terms of their offense, though, that has been a problem, guys. Obviously, they managed to score 4 runs in this game. Good job, but they've scored 4, 3, 2, and 6 runs over their last few games. Yeah, it doesn't help when you're selling off your best players to the Yankees. Not exactly making your offense better here, so not an offense that I'm high on, guys. 29th in the majors in runs scored, 29th in the majors in on-base percentage. Like, they're just a hair better than those terrible Chicago White Sox. So we'll see what they can do here against the Braves, who come into this game 60 and 50 on the year. They're handing the ball to Max Fried in this one, who's 7-5 this season with a 3.08 ERA. He's coming off the IL there with his forearm issue. It sounds like he must be good to go. Yeah, I mean, the last time he pitched was back in the All-Star game, so he's had a nice long break. I think we can expect him to get right back to work. This dude has been good this season, no doubt about it. His last full start was back on the 11th of July at Arizona. 6 innings, 5 hits, only a single earned run allowed against a very hard-hitting opponent. So expecting good stuff from Max Fried. Always expecting good stuff from that Atlanta bullpen, guys. A 2.96 ERA coming out of the pen is dominant stuff. The offense has been questionable, guys. They lean pretty hard on Ozuna to, make up for a lot of deficiencies, and he's been great this year, but they're 20th in the majors in runs scored and 23rd in the majors in on-base percentage. Their slugging percentage is respectable, above MLB average, but yeah, I definitely have some question marks about this offense. So looking at the numbers for this game, it's pretty wild, guys. We see the Marlins at plus 250. The Braves at minus 310. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Marlins are only 18-36 on the road. Atlanta is 32-21 at home, so that's obviously pretty respectable. We also see both teams showing very significant trends towards the under. Miami 31-22-1 to the under on the road. Atlanta 34-18-1 to the under at home. So yeah, under 8.5 seems like it's in play in this game. I'm not really expecting, Cabrera to go out there and get shelled. I'm not too interested in the side in this game with the number being so huge. So yeah, guys, go ahead and give me under 8.5. Is it going to go in the pinned comment? We'll have to wait and see, but I'd say under 8.5 has a real chance in this one. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Milwaukee Brewers going on the road here to take on the Washington Nationals. The Brewers come into this game fresh off of a tough 6-4 loss there in Game 2 of this series. Not what they were looking for. Pretty tough out there. The Brewers have been having a hard time since losing Christian Yelich. They're hitting the ball in this one to Tobias Myers, who's 6-4 on the season with a 3.10 ERA. His last time out was a short but decent start against the Marlins, guys. 4 innings, 3 hits, only a single earned run allowed, and he struck out 5 in that game. The Brewers are only 2-3 over his last 5 starts, although his last 3 have been very, very good, so I'm not really willing to give him that much of the blame. This team has been having a bit of a rough time lately, no doubt about it. The Brewers' bullpen, maybe a slight downturn here, but still third in the majors with a 3.25 ERA coming out of the pen, so they'll definitely take that. The offense has been questionable, though, guys. 4, 8, 2, and 1 runs, respectively, over their last few games. Down to 10th in the majors in runs scored, 3rd in the majors in on-base percentage, still batting 255 as a team. Like, that's respectable, so maybe they'll, bounce back here a little bit, but this offense and kind of this team not really playing their best ball right now. They're taking on the Nationals again in this game. They come into this one fresh off of that much-needed win. It snapped a, 5-game losing streak there. They're handing the ball to Mitchell Parker in this game. He's 5-6 this season with a 4.31 ERA. His last start was against the Diamondbacks. It wasn't a terrible one, guys. 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, so not a disaster. Definitely a much-needed bounce back after 2 bad starts. The last time he faced Milwaukee, guys, he got absolutely shelled. It was at Milwaukee. He only lasted 2/3 of an inning, gave up 3 hits and 5 earned runs. Yeah, he walked 2 in that game. Just not a great look. He had a very rough time. So we're a little bit worried about him out there going up against the Brewers once again. We're also a little bit worried about that Nationals bullpen. They haven't been having the greatest time lately, guys. They are down to 25th in the majors with a 4.37 bullpen ERA. So while this Brewers team hasn't been hitting the ball crazy well, I think they could hit the ball well in this pitching matchup. And the Nationals, while they did just score 6, have scored 6, 3, 4, 0, and 8 runs respectively over their last few games. This is not a great hitting team, guys. 27th in the majors in slugging percentage, 19th in the majors in runs scored this season, so not really expecting miracles from them there. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Brewers at minus 130, the Nationals at plus 120. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. Milwaukee, not a bad road team, guys. 31-27 on the road. Washington only 24-28 at home. We see both teams showing trends towards the over, but they're pretty slight trends, so not really too interested in that over-under of 9, guys, but I am very interested in running it back here with the Brewers at minus 130. I'm also interested in the Brewers minus 1.5. If you take minus 1.5, you can get them at plus 125. That's pretty appealing stuff, guys. We'll see if we get greedy, see which way we go on this one, but man, the Brewers definitely in a bounce back spot and in a good, favorable matchup. I think they do work in this game. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Toronto Blue Jays going on the road to take on the New York Yankees. The Blue Jays come into this game fresh off of an 8-3 loss there in Game 2 of this series. After winning Game 1, I had kind of expected that they would take a little bit of a downturn. They're 51-60 on the year, so not having the best time. They're handing the ball to Yariel Rodriguez, who's 1-4 this season with a 4.31 ERA. He's coming off of a debacle there against the Baltimore Orioles, guys. It was at Camden Yards. He only lasted 2/3 of an inning, gave up 4 runs. 3 of them were earned. He walked 4. Just did not have his best stuff out there, which is a big departure from how he looked over his last few starts. He'd been pretty solid. We'll see if he can bounce back here against the Yankees, a team that he has not faced yet this season. Could be a bit tough. They're looking like they're getting back to full strength. Also, guys, whenever Rodriguez comes out of this game, you're going to be looking at that Toronto bullpen that now officially has an ERA of over 5. So the second worst bullpen in the major leagues, only ahead of the Rockies there. So not really loving this spot for the Blue Jays pitching staff. Generally speaking, the bats maybe haven't looked as bad right now as they've looked over the course of the season. But I mean, 3, 8, 4, and 2 runs respectively over their last few games. Not exactly miracle stuff. We have seen Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit the ball a little bit better recently, so we'll give him some credit there. But generally speaking, this is not an offense that we're very impressed by. classified guys, 25th in the majors in runs scored, 20th in the majors in slugging percentage. So we'll see what they can do here against the Yankees, who come into this game fresh off of that win. They've actually won 6 out of their last 7 overall. They're tied with Baltimore for the top spot there in the AL East. They're hitting the ball in this one to Garrett Cole, who's 3-2 this season with a 5.40 ERA. I know, not the kind of numbers you're used to seeing from Cole, guys. His last start was a terrible one back on the 24th against the Mets. 5 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs. He gave up 3 home runs in that start. Just terrible, terrible stuff. We'll see how he looks out there in this one, though. I'm expecting something of a bounce back from him. The last time he pitched against Toronto was back on June 30th. 5 innings, 3 hits, only a single earned run allowed while striking out 6. So I think we're going to see a bounce back here from Cole. The Yankees bullpen obviously is a decent one, guys. Maybe not as dominant as they looked early in the season, but a 3.53 ERA is good for 5th in the majors, so no concerns there. And the bats seem like they are back on track, guys. I mean, Judge has to be considered the most feared hitter in baseball right now, with 41 home runs and batting .321 on the season. This team just loaded with talent up and down the roster. Eventually, we expect to see Rizzo come back and make this team even scarier. He's begun hitting and is doing fielding drills, so it seems like that return is relatively imminent. I don't think it's going to happen for this game or anything like that, but something to keep in mind headed down the road here for the Yankees. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Blue Jays at plus 192, the Yankees at minus 215. We've got an over-under of 9.5 in this game. Generally speaking, overs have been good for the Yankees. They're 29 and 22 and 1 to the over at home. Toronto is 30, 25 and 2 to the over on the road. Needing 10 runs to hit that over, though, seems a little bit strong, especially expecting a bounce back day from Cole. So probably not too interested in that over under. The Blue Jays plus 192. I don't really think they've got much of a chance to win this game. I don't like taking a price as high as minus 215 for the Yankees, but if you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at minus 115, minus 130, something like that out there. That is very appealing to me. I think we see another good outing from the Yankees here with those bats going off. If not against Rodriguez, then against that really, really weak Blue Jays bullpen. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Baltimore Orioles going on the road to take on the Cleveland Guardians. The Orioles come into this game fresh off of a 7-4 win in Game 3 of this series, a much-needed win for them after losing the first 2. They're hitting the ball in this one to Corbin Burns, who's 11-4 this season with a 2.47 ERA. He's coming off of a decent start there against the Blue Jays, guys. 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs allowed. He struck out 7 and walked 3, so pretty good stuff there. Kind of a bounce back after a mediocre start at the Miami Marlins. So, you know, Corbin Burns, obviously, he's a monster out there. We haven't seen him go up against Cleveland yet this season, so this will be a new experience for him, but we'll see what he can do. Obviously expecting good things from him. What do we expect from this Baltimore bullpen at this point, though? Not a lot of good stuff, guys. A 4.01 bullpen ERA does not really fill us with optimism. Obviously, the bats came alive for 7 runs there in Game 3 of the series, but they hadn't looked that hot early in the series. We did see Gunnar Henderson get a RBI single in that game, so it's kind of good to see him getting some stuff done at the plate. He hasn't been swinging the hottest bat lately. They are still 3rd in the majors in runs scored and 1st in the majors in slugging percentage, so obviously this is a very, very strong offensive team, no doubt about that. We're going to see what they can do here going up against the Guardians, though, who come into this game obviously fresh off of that loss, but they had won 5 in a row before that to get to 67 and 43 on the season. They're hitting the ball to Gavin Williams in this game, who's 1-3 this year with a 3.72 ERA. His last start was against the Tigers, guys. He's had a lot of outings against the Tigers. Over his last 5 outings, guys, 3 of them were against Detroit. So a lot of reps against them. His last start was probably his best or second best against them. 5 innings, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts, and only 1 walk. So he's been looking good out there, but he's about to go up against a completely different offensive team. The last time he faced a good offensive team, I think we can say the Padres are a good offensive team, right? Back on the 20th of July, he went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 earned runs to the Padres. So yeah, not exactly lockdown stuff out there from Gavin Williams. He's only 25 years old. Can't expect him to be lights out every outing. The Cleveland Guardians bullpen, though, has been lights out all season long. A 2.51 bullpen ERA is obviously excellent. The offense has been hitting the ball well recently. I mean, we've seen some guys struggling a little bit, like Quan hasn't maybe had the most amazing time, but Jose Ramirez is hitting the ball well. This team is 12th in the majors in runs scored, 16th in the majors, batting .242 as a team. Like, this is a slightly above average offense, absolutely no doubt about it. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Orioles at minus 137, the Guardians at plus 120. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. Baltimore is 31-21 on the road. Cleveland is an MLB best 35-15 at home. Yeah, guys, I mean, Baltimore is also 32-17-3 to the over on the road, and Cleveland is 28-19-3 to the over at home. With an over-under of only 8 in this game, Gavin Williams isn't exactly somebody I super trust. I really don't trust that Baltimore bullpen at all. I think this is another over spot in this series, guys. I think we're going to see plenty of offense once again on a hot day there in Cleveland. I think we're going to see plenty of offense in this game there in Cleveland. So, guys, go ahead and give me over 8. This has a very good chance to end up in the pinned comment. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Kansas City Royals going on the road to take on the Detroit Tigers. The Royals come to this game fresh off of a tough 6-5 loss there at Detroit in Game 3 of that series. Cannot feel very good to lose there in the 11th inning. It was a very back and forth, crazy game. Yeah, tough stuff there. The Royals are 62-50 on the season, handing the ball to Michael Wacha in this game, who's 8-6 this year with a 3.58 ERA. His last start was against the White Sox, and he was very, very good out there. Obviously, it was against the White Sox, so we're not really going to freak out about that, but he's been very good in at least 4 of his last 5 starts, if not all 5 of them. Had a little bit of a hiccup there against Arizona, but that's going to happen. Arizona is really, really good. His last start against the Tigers was back in May. He was good in that start. 7 innings pitched, only 2 earned runs allowed, and he struck out 3 and walked 1. So yeah, expecting good stuff from Wacha in this matchup against a Tigers offense that's just not very good right now. The Royals bullpen, definitely a major concern for this team, right? I mean, a 4.22 ERA coming out of the pen is not great. Not a bullpen that you can trust. The offense has been better, guys. 5, 9, 7, and 10 runs respectively over their last few games. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr. is a monster. Salvador Perez getting the job done. They're 8th in the majors in runs scored, 10th in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, this is a good offense. Absolutely no doubt about that. We'll see what they can do here against the Tigers, who obviously come into this game fresh off of that win. They're 53-59 on the season, so, not exactly headed a lot of great places this year. We don't have a confirmed starter yet for the Tigers, so that's still very much up in the air. Generally speaking, this season, those numbers are all over the place. I mean, obviously, Skubal has been good, but not really a pitching staff at this point that you can super trust. Their bullpen right down there with the Royals guys not putting up very good numbers, and the offense clearly misses Riley Green, who we have no reason to expect will be back for this one. And without him, this offense is just not one that scares me, guys. Over the course of the season, they're 28th in the majors in on-base percentage and 27th in the majors in batting average. So looking at the numbers for this game, no huge surprise here to see the Royals as sizable favorites at -158. The Tigers are +134. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Royals are 26-27 on the road. Detroit is 25-30 at home, so not a great home team. We've got mixed trends towards the over-under, guys. I'm not super interested in that over-under of 8.5. I am interested in the Royals -158, or maybe even the Royals -1.5. If you take a -1.5, you can get them at +105, so that's fairly appealing, but we'll probably just stick with the Royals as the side in this game, especially if we see that this is going to be a bullpen start from the Tigers. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Chicago White Sox going on the road to take on the Minnesota Twins. We saw the White Sox take yet another loss in the last game, guys. They lost their 19th straight game. They lost 6-2 in Game 2 of this series. They're 27-86 on the year, handing the ball to Chris Flexen in this one. He's 2-10 this season with a 5.13 ERA. His last start was against the Royals, and he kind of got out of a lot of trouble, guys. He gave up 9 hits over 6 innings and only 2 earned runs, but yeah, it was a game we eventually saw the White Sox lose 8-5. The last time he took on the Twins was back on July 8th. He went 6 innings, gave up 7 hits and 2 earned runs in that one, so kind of pitching his way out of trouble. He did give up a home run in that game, so, not exactly a lights-out kind of pitcher. He's had his issues, and he's been giving up a lot of hits and kind of getting out of trouble, so almost feels like he's been getting a bit lucky. Obviously, that White Sox bullpen is an absolute travesty, guys, down to a 4.95 bullpen ERA, 27th in the majors, right down there with Toronto and the Colorado Rockies. So, yeah, just not a lot of good things to say about this White Sox team. They're the worst offense in baseball, last in runs, last in batting average, last in slugging percentage, and last in on-base percentage. So, this is an absolutely terrible team. They're taking on the Twins in this one, who came through for us yesterday, again with a 6-2 win. They're 61-48 this season, handing the ball to Simeon Woods Richardson, who's 3-2 on the year with a 3.74 ERA. He's coming off of a pretty bad start against the Mets, guys. 3 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs allowed. Not great stuff there. Very concerning to see him have, so much trouble. But it was against a team like the Mets, who are pretty freaking good. So we'll give the dude some credit. His 4 starts before that were all very, very good. Obviously, going up against the White Sox here is a great get-right spot for anybody. He pitched against them back in April, so not a lot we can take from those games. But he did look decent, but not dominant. But that's ancient history, so we can't really take a whole lot from that. We do see him coming into this game pretty well rested and in, a bounce-back spot. So expecting good stuff from Woods Richardson in this game. What do we expect from that Twins bullpen? They're trending in a good direction here. Pitching against the White Sox will do that for you. I mean, they're sitting with a 3.86 ERA coming out of the pen. Not amazing numbers, but obviously not terrible. The offense has been cruising right along here, guys. 6, 10, and 8 runs respectively over their last 3 games. They're up to 9th in the majors in runs scored and 5th in the majors in slugging percentage. So yeah, good stuff there. We see Correa apparently getting pretty close to returning, guys. He says his foot feels much better. So yeah, we'll see when he actually gets back in the lineup, but that will be a big boost for this offense. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the White Sox at plus 230, the Twins at minus 275. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The White Sox are an MLB worst 10-45 on the road. Minnesota is 30-21 at home. That's pretty reasonable. We see both teams showing trends towards the over in this situation, which is a little bit interesting with an over-under here of 8.5. But yeah, not huge trends here. And with Correa out, I'm not super in love with betting overs for the Twins at the moment. So generally speaking, guys, we're looking at going back to the well here, taking the Twins minus 1.5. If you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at minus 135, 130, somewhere in that range. Is it going to go in the pin comment once again here? Seems a bit questionable. I mean, Flexen can have decent games occasionally, and we're not super sold on Simeon Woods Richardson, but it's the White Sox, guys. It's definitely got a chance to end up in there. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Tampa Bay Rays going on the road here to take on the Houston Astros. The Rays come into this game fresh off of a 6-1 win there at Houston in Game 2 of that series. They're 56-54 on the year, handing the ball to young Hunter Biggie in this one. He's been a bullpen guy who's just acquired very recently there from the Cubs. He's made 2 appearances here for the Tampa Bay Rays, and he's been pretty decent in each one of them. They were not starts, though. These were bullpen outings, and it looks like it's going to be a full bullpen start here from the Tampa Bay Rays, which obviously raises some eyebrows, guys. I mean, this is a bullpen with a 4.17 ERA, so not exactly a lights-out style bullpen, and we haven't really seen Biggie go deep into any game this season. The most he's ever pitched in this season is 1 total inning, so yeah, not exactly expecting miracles out of this guy here, although he has been good out of the pen, don't get me wrong, so we'll see what we get, but I'm not expecting him to be out there for long. The Rays offense hasn't been incredible. I mean, obviously they're coming off a game where they scored 6 runs, so they'll definitely take that. Josh Lowe homered twice in that game, so most of that is due to him. But what do we really expect from an offense that scored 6, 2, 2, and 9 runs respectively over their last few games? And those are series against Houston and the Miami Marlins. I mean, they're 28th in the majors in runs scored and 25th in the majors in slugging percentage. Not exactly a monster offensive team. They're taking on the Astros, who come into this game fresh off of that loss. They're currently a half game back of Seattle there in the AL West. We'll see if Seattle loses their current game. That would put them off a full game, or to put them at tied. So we'll see what happens there. But regardless, at a very close race there in the AL West. They're hitting the ball to Spencer Arrighetti, who's 4-9 this season with a 5.58 ERA. He's coming off a decent start against the Dodgers, guys. 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs allowed. He did give up 2 home runs in that game, but he also struck out 8. So, you know, take the good with the bad there. He's a young guy. He's been a bit inconsistent this season, but at 24 years old and kind of pitching his way through an entire season, you're going to see some ups and downs, no doubt about that. He hasn't taken on the Rays yet this year, so, you know, not having seen him before, probably, a benefit there for Arrighetti, who's, you know, he's been decent lately. Not great there in that start at Oakland, but pretty good against the Dodgers, very good against the Rangers. So we'll see what we get from Arrighetti. We'll also see what we get from that Houston bullpen that's maybe had a little bit of trouble lately, but still with a 3.65 bullpen ERA, we're not going to be pressing the panic button yet. We need to see more offense from this team, guys. So there's absolutely no doubt about it. They've scored 1, 3, and 5 runs respectively over their last few games. They're 13th in the majors in runs scored, despite being top 10 in slugging percentage and batting .261 as a team. They just need to score more runs. There's no way around it. I don't know how this continues to happen all season long. This team should be putting up more offense. So we'll see what they can do here in this game against the Rays. Looking at the numbers, we got the Rays at plus 140. We got the Astros at minus 166. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Rays are a 500 team on the road. Houston's actually a decent 32-24 at home. We see mixed trends towards the over-under in this game, and I'm not really too interested in the over-under, to be honest. I am interested in the Astros at home, minus 166, and a bounce-back spot after that tough loss in Game 2. So definitely take a look at the Astros, minus 166. If you really think they're going to have their way with that weak bullpen coming from Tampa Bay, you can take a minus 1.5. You can get them at like plus 120, plus 125, somewhere in that range. So that's a little bit appealing. Are we going to get, are we going to get greedy here on a Sunday? This seems like a tough look. Probably just give me the Astros minus 166 in this one. We'll see if it ends up in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Boston Red Sox going on the road to take on the Texas Rangers. The Red Sox did not get the job done for us yesterday, guys. They lost 7-4. They're handing the ball to Nick Pivetta in this one. He's 5-7 this year with a 4.47 ERA. He's coming off a decent start against the Mariners, guys. 6 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs allowed. He did strike out 10 in that game, so that's cool, but he also gave up 2 home runs, so that's not ideal. He's actually given up 2 home runs in each of his last 2 games, so definitely some problematic stuff. I mean, he had a terrible start at Colorado, but a very good start at the Dodgers, so been kind of a mixed bag here recently with Pivetta, so we'll see what we get from him in this one going up against a team he has not faced yet this season. We'll also see what we get from that Red Sox bullpen. They have not been having a great time recently, guys. A 4.09 ERA coming out of the pen is not great stuff. The offense, 4, 11, 3, 6, and 14 runs over the last few games. a little bit inconsistent, but they're still 5th in the majors in runs scored and 2nd in the majors, batting .261 as a team. They're also the 2nd best slugging percentage team in the majors. Like, I'm expecting some good stuff from this offense in pretty much every situation. We'll see what they can do here going up against the Rangers, who come into this game fresh off that win, but they're 53 and 58 on the year, so not exactly having the time of their lives. They're hitting the ball to Nathan Eovaldi in this game. He's 8-4 this season with a 3.38 ERA. His last start was against the Cardinals, 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs. Not dominant, but good stuff, especially considering he was coming off of an extended outing where he struck out 10 against the White Sox. We've seen pretty good stuff from him over his last 5 starts. He did have a bad start against Baltimore, which is a bit concerning since he's about to go up against another power team here in the Red Sox. Not a team that he's faced yet this season, so we'll see what he can do out there. We'll see what we get from that Rangers bullpen that's been very bad this season, a 4.50 ERA coming out of the pen. Obviously, pretty much a disaster bullpen, really. So that's a bit concerning. The offense obviously went off for 7 runs in Game 2 of this series. They scored 6 in Game 1, but lost 11-6. They only scored 2 runs over their last 2 games of that series at St. Louis, so that's not great. They're getting a little bit healthier. I mean, they're 18th in the majors in runs scored and 21st in the majors in slugging percentage, so this isn't a bottom-of-the-barrel offense necessarily, but yeah, it could be a little bit tough for them going up against Pivetta, but maybe not against that Red Sox bullpen. So we'll see what we get in this game. Looking at the numbers for this one, guys, we've got the Red Sox at plus 110, the Rangers at minus 120. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. Boston is 31 and 22 on the road, so a good road team. The Rangers are 29 and 24 at home, so a decent home team. We see mixed trends towards the over-under, guys. Boston is a significant over team on the road. Texas is 34, 17, and 2 to the under at home. That is an MLB best mark to the under. Really, in terms of the over-under in this game, guys, I would lean towards the over. In terms of the side, I know Eovaldi is out there on the mound, but I'm really kind of leaning towards the Red Sox plus 110. Is this going to go in the pinned comment? I don't think so, but I think in terms of the value in this game, I either like the Red Sox or over 8. Next up, guys, we're looking at the LA Dodgers going on the road to take on the Oakland A's. The Dodgers come into this game, well, it looks like it's going to be fresh off a win. They're up 7-0 there in the top of the 9th inning against the Oakland A's. So we'll see what they can do with the end of this game, but it would be quite the collapse. They're going to be 64 and 47 on the year, hitting the ball to River Ryan in this game, who's 1-0 this season with a 0.82 ERA. He's going to be making his 3rd start of the year, and his first 2 have been absolutely lights out. He hasn't gone super deep into the games, 5 1/3 and 5 2/3 respectively, but he hasn't given up more than 1 earned run in any of them, so things are looking pretty good for this 25-year-old up with the big league team. Things are working out so far. The Dodgers bullpen maybe could use just a tad of work, but hasn't been terrible, guys. A 3.63 ERA coming out of the pen, not bad at all. And the offense obviously coming off a game where they're going to have scored at least 8 runs now. They're up 8-0 now. Things are looking decent for them. Obviously, it had to be disappointing to lose 6-5 there in Game 1 of this series. So it seems like they're putting things back together here. Obviously been one of the better offenses over the course of this season. They need to get healthy. They need Freeman back. They need Mookie Betts back. But once they get that, this is going to be back to being a very, very dangerous offense. So we'll see what they do here going up against the A's, who come into this game looking like it's very likely to be off of a loss. They're handing the ball in this one to Osvaldo Bido, who comes into this game fresh off of this will be his 3rd start, so fresh off of his 2nd start, and it was not a good one, guys. At the Angels, he got shelled. 3 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 7 earned runs, and a home run. He walked 4 and struck out 6 in that game that eventually the A's lost 8-6. They've been hitting the ball well recently. Got to give him credit for that. But yeah, Bido did not look great in that game, so we've got our question marks about him. Their bullpen has been very good this season, much better than we would have projected. They're 6th in the majors right now with a 3.58 ERA coming out of the pen. Obviously, the bats are working out a bit too, guys. I mean, they're looking not good in this game. Obviously, it looks like they're probably going to get shut out, but they've scored 6, 0, 5, 6, and 3 over the last few games. Their slugging percentage numbers are above average. That's kind of where the above average numbers end for them. But I mean, Brent Rooker is a monster. They're only 23rd in the majors in runs scored, though, so, you know, not exactly an offense I'm in love with. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Dodgers at minus 158, the A's at plus 140. We've got an over-unders showing up 8.5 or 9 out there. The Dodgers are just barely over 500 on the road. Oakland is a 500 team at home. We see mixed trends towards the over-under. In general in this game, I do expect to see a good amount of offense, at least coming out of the Dodgers. So if you're forcing me to bet the over-under in this one, I'd probably take over 8.5. But I do think this is a decent spot for the Dodgers on the road to back up what's looking like a win here in Game 2 with a win in Game 3. I mean, not seeing great things from Bido right now. I'm not expecting miracles from this bullpen guy who's, you know, been forced into the starting role. So we'll see what happens. My lean is definitely the Dodgers minus 158 in this game. Next on the docket, guys, we look at the New York Mets going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Angels. These two teams are currently playing right now in the bottom of the 7th inning with the Mets up 4-2. They're going to be looking to take a 2-0 lead in this series. They've been playing pretty well recently. That would make them winners of 4 out of their last 5. They're handing the ball in this one to Jose Quintana, who's 6-6 this year with a 3.89 ERA. He's coming off of a great start against the Twins. Honestly, back-to-back very good starts against reasonable hitting teams, guys. Over his last 5 starts, he's been great, except for that one weird start against the Rockies. So definitely expecting good things from Jose Quintana in this game, no doubt about that. The Mets bullpen can be a different story at times. Right now they're looking, I would say, all right. I mean, they've been trending in a positive direction for a while now, down to a 4.04 ERA. Obviously, that's not amazing, but it's also not the disaster that this bullpen was early in the season. The offense has been looking decent. I mean, they've scored 4 runs so far in this current game, so nothing crazy there, but 4, 5, 3, 2, and 15 runs over their last few games. They're showing great power numbers, guys. 7th in the majors in slugging percentage, 6th in runs scored. They're batting .250 as a team. Like, there's plenty of reason to have optimism about this offense right now. So we'll see what they can do going up against the Angels, who come into this game. Looks like it's going to be fresh off of a 4th straight loss. They're 47, looking like it's going to be 47 and 64 on the year. Handing the ball to Griffin Canning, who's 3-10 this season with a 5.25 ERA. Coming off a bad start against the Rockies, guys. 6 innings, 6 hits, 6 earned runs allowed to give a home run in that game. He's given up a home run in each of his last 5 games. So for all your prop bettors out there, seems like a reasonable guy to bet for people to hit home runs against. Yeah, just not a guy that's looked great out there recently, guys. Not a lot of positive stuff to find for him. So not expecting great stuff from him. Also not expecting great stuff from that Angels bullpen that's, bottom 10 in the majors with a 4.30 ERA coming out of the pen. And the offense also hasn't been looking great. I mean, they've scored 2 runs so far in this current game, but before that, 1, 4, and 1 respectively. Like, not a very good offensive team. 26th in the majors in runs scored, 24th in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, just not a lot of positives. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Mets at minus 148, the Angels at plus 134. We've got an over-under of 9.5 in this game. That seems like a pretty big over-under number to me. I mean, the Mets are 27-22 on the road. The Angels are 24-35 at home, so not a very good home team. We see the Mets showing big numbers towards the over, guys. They're 29-17-3 to the over when playing on the road. Not super interested in an over-under of 9.5 in this spot, though, guys. I do think this is a good place for the Mets, minus 148. I mean, you could also talk me into taking them minus 1.5 in this spot. I know this would be bucking that Sunday trend of teams avoiding getting swept, but man, the Mets minus 1.5 at plus 105 seems relatively reasonable to me, especially if the Angels manage to make this a close game or even come back and win this game. Their current game, game 2, so we'll have to see. This probably isn't going in the pinned comment, but I do like the Mets in this spot a good amount, and I'm pretty excited about what we're seeing from Jose Quintana, so I'm not going to write this off as a possibility to go into the pinned comment. Next up, guys, we've got the Colorado Rockies going on the road to take on the San Diego Padres. The Rockies come into this game fresh off of a close 3-2 loss there in game 2 of this series. They're handing the ball in this one to Cal Quantrill, who's 7-7 this year with a 4.50 ERA. His last start was a terrible one at the Angels. He'd been looking okay prior to that, but yeah, not a starter that we're super duper high on for all of the obvious reasons. The last time he went up against the Padres was back in May, and he did have a good outing, so we'll take that slightly into account. We'll also definitely take into account that the Rockies have a bullpen that's giving up a 4.50 earned run average. That is pretty crazy bad stuff there. So not loving that. Also not loving this Rockies offense. I mean, they're a little bit better than I guess I would have thought, but 16th in the majors in runs scored, 16th in the majors in slugging percentage, 21st in the majors in on-base percentage, while getting to play at Coors Field, not really knocking my socks off. So we'll see what they can do here against the Padres, who've won 3 out of their last 4. They're up to 60-52 on the year. Handing the ball in this one to Matt Waldron, who's 6-9 this season with a 3.89 ERA. He's coming off a very mediocre start against the Dodgers, guys. 4 innings, 5 hits, and 5 earned runs allowed. It was a game we saw the Padres eventually win in extra innings, but it wasn't really his fault. He's looked good recently. He hasn't gotten a lot of run support. I mean, the last time we saw him take on the Rockies was a long time ago, guys, back in April, actually. He looked very good in that outing, so definitely give him credit there, but yeah, that's kind of ancient history, so I don't know how much we can take from that. The Padres bullpen, I would say, is headed in a slightly positive direction. A 4.12 bullpen ERA is not as bad as they were at other points this season, so definitely give him some credit there, but not a bullpen that I can super trust. The offense, maybe not swinging the hottest bats, scoring 3 and 2 runs respectively over their last couple games, but they are a good offense, 1st in the majors in batting average and 11th in the majors in runs scored. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Rockies at plus 122, the Padres at minus 144. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. That's another tiny number, guys. I mean, we do see both these teams showing trends towards the over. The Rockies are 32-24-2 to the over on the road. The Padres are 34-21-1 to the over at home. guys, I think we got to do it. I think we got to take over 7.5 in this game, especially it's, like an afternoon game on a Sunday. Like, we're going to see some offense in this one. I do think Matt Waldron is a good pitcher. I don't know if I can say the same for Cal Quantrill. I think we got to take the over 7.5. You could also talk me into the Padres minus 144. I think they're going to have a good time in this game. But yeah, generally speaking, over 7.5 seems like the spot in this one. Heading into the home stretch here, guys, we've got the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. These two teams are actually playing right now. They're in the top of the 7th inning. Seattle's made a significant comeback to tie things up at 5 apiece. The Phillies come into this game 65-44 on the year, riding a losing streak. We'll see if they can, turn things around here in their current game and win in game 2 of this series, but they've not been having a good time. They're hitting the ball to Zach Wheeler in this game. He's 10-5 this season with a 2.94 ERA. His last start was against the Yankees. He got destroyed. 5 innings, 7 earned runs, and 3 home runs allowed, so not his best stuff. Obviously, he's going to be looking to bounce back here against the Mariners. The Phillies bullpen has been a disaster. It looks like they're continuing to be a disaster in their current game, too, so that's a pretty big concern, and the bats have been gone. At least they had 5 runs in their current game, but before that, not exactly killing it. Bryce Harper trying to, tell his teammates to cowboy up. I don't think that was exactly the message that is going to get them hitting the ball all of a sudden. This is a good offense over the course of the season, but swinging some pretty cold bats right now going up against the Mariners, who hitting their stride, guys. They're 58-53 on the season. They've got a chance to come back and win their current game. They're handing the ball to Logan Gilbert in this one. He's 6-7 on the year with a 3.11 ERA. The dude looked terrible in his last start, though, guys. At Boston, got destroyed 2 3 innings, 7 hits, and 7 earned runs allowed. Honestly, his last couple of starts looked a little bit questionable, so we'll see what we get from him out there in this one. I mean, I do expect him to bounce back. He's been such a good pitcher for so long this year. I think we'll see him get back to business out there. I think we'll also see good things from that Seattle bullpen that's been very solid all season long with a sub-4 ERA all year. And yeah, I'm just expecting decent things overall from this pitching staff. The bats have gotten much better for this team. All these additions that they made at the trade deadline definitely seem like they're working out. So I think we're going to see much better stuff here from them down the stretch. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Phillies at minus 132, the Mariners at plus 116. We've got an over-under in this game of 7 or 7.5. Oh boy, guys. I mean, Seattle is a huge under team at home, no doubt about it, but all those numbers were acquired when they had no offense. We've seen both these pitchers in their last couple games get absolutely shelled, so I think we're going to either see them be great or terrible in their next outing. Honestly, guys, I'm pretty much staying away from this game. I am leaning towards Seattle plus 116 and the over in this game, but neither one of those are going in the pinned comment for me. Last but not least here, guys, we're looking at the St. Louis Cardinals going on the road to take on the Chicago Cubs on Sunday Night Baseball there at Wrigley Field. The Cardinals come into this game fresh off of a 5-4 win there at Chicago in game 2 of this series. Yeah, there was some just a weird fielding mix-up there, and yeah, the Cardinals will definitely take that 5-4 win that they desperately needed. They're 57-54 on the year, handing the ball to Miles Mikolas, who's 8-8 on the season with a 4.99 ERA. His last start, guys, was against the Washington Nationals, and he was not great out there. 6 innings, 7 hits, and 3 earned runs. Honestly, if that's what you can get out of Mikolas, you'll definitely take it. The dude has not had an amazing season. The last time he pitched against the Cubs was back on July 14th, so not that long ago. 5 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs. He gave up 4 home runs in that game, guys. It was at home at Busch Stadium against the Cubs, and he did not have a good time. So worried about Mikolas in this game for sure. I'm not going to say that we're worried about the Cardinals bullpen, guys. A 3.62 ERA coming out of the pen is not terrible, but they haven't been quite as lights out recently, and there have been some issues there at the end of games. So we'll see what they can do there. We'll also see what this offense can do. They haven't been a great offensive team over the course of the season. They've made some moves. They've tried to get a little bit better. They're up to 13th in the majors in batting average and 18th in the majors on base percentage. So this isn't a bottom of the barrel offense anymore, but not exactly an offense that you can just lock in to do well. So we'll see what they can do here going up against the Cubs, who, yeah, took that tough loss in their last game. They're 54-59 on the year. They're last in the NL Central. Handing the ball to Justin Steele in this game, who's 2-5 this season with a 3.38 ERA. He's coming off a bad start against the Reds, though, guys, and honestly, 2 out of his last 3 starts have been very, very problematic. Kind of hasn't looked the same since that, 7-inning start. He pitched 9 and 7 innings in back-to-back outings, and then he just hasn't really had it over his last few. He actually hasn't faced the Cardinals yet this season, so that's maybe a little bit of an advantage for him, but yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about Justin Steele out there on the mound against the Cardinals in this game in a high-pressure situation on Sunday Night Baseball. well. And yeah, not really looking like he's had his best stuff lately. The Cubs bullpen doesn't really worry me too much, guys. A 3.72 ERA coming out of the pen is definitely good, and their offense is looking better as well with Bellinger coming back and stuff like that. So we'll see what they can do here. They're going up against a pitcher that they've really had their way with recently. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Cardinals at plus 130. We've got the Cubs at minus 148. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Cardinals 28 and 29 on the road. The Cubs 29 and 26 at home. We see both teams showing trends towards the under in this situation. I mean, the Cardinals 29, 25 and 3 to the under on the road. The Cubs 30, 24 and 1 to the under at home. With a number like 8.5 and neither pitcher looking good right now, I'm honestly leaning towards the over in this game. I'm not super confident in either side. I would maybe lean towards the Cardinals plus 130 a little bit, but Michaelis has been so bad against the Cubs, but Steele's been so bad lately. Yeah, guys, generally speaking, I'm staying away from the side in this one and leaning towards over 8.5. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.